Shane, no!
Okay. Welcome back to episode number 10. Yes, we've hit double digits of the From the Fabricator podcast. I'm your host, Max Perlstein. Thank you so much for tuning in, listening in once again. It means a ton to me, and I do appreciate it. And I got a tremendous show this time. Really interesting guests from very different backgrounds, different approaches in different parts of our industry. We'll get to that in a moment. Obviously, it's been coming up on a month since Glass Build. Wow, time has flown, and I haven't had a chance to recap it. I'm sure you guys have all, guys and gals, have read it all already and followed everything that happened at the show. 5,000 plus people. Just a vibe there that was really exciting. People were thrilled to be back in front of one another. It's tough times, and in normal years, I would not be happy with 5,000 people at Glass Build, but this was not a normal year, and it was a great turnout. And I think those that came definitely got value from it, and those that missed because they were just so busy, and that's a big issue right now. Everybody is pretty busy for various reasons. Obviously, the other big thing that's kind of bearing down on us is the supply chain, inflation with that supply chain. So it's tough getting material, and the cost of that material continues to rise. And in a business where you are guaranteeing some costs, I would say, or at least, putting out bids and so on and so forth, it gets a little challenging. I think all of us are doing the best we can to fight through that. But this, as I've always said, is a extremely resilient industry, and we will find our way through this. But it is definitely a challenge right now. All right, enough of me. You guys didn't tune in to hear me talk. You can read my blog each week, and I appreciate that. But 3 sets of guests this week, really interesting people. Ron Parker, who is, in my opinion, the best operational guy in our industry, independent consultant, talking to him about a bunch of things, safety and structure and systems. Then I've got the guys from Winco Window, who I've always wanted to meet, and got to meet them and go over 100 years of history, 100 plus years of history, and some really cool things they've got going on. And then thrilled to have Emily Yukish of Specified Systems, one of the best glazers in our country, and Emily, a rising star and a really, really sharp person. Fun interview there too. So here we go. Let's get it going. Thanks very much for tuning in, and we'll see you on the other side. Okay. This is a first for me. First, talking to 2 people in 2 different locations. I've had 2 people on before, but they've shared a camera, so the screen looks a little different for those of you watching on YouTube. But I am absolutely thrilled to be joined by Gantt and Woody Miller of Winco Windows. They are based in St. Louis, been there for more than 100 years. You can find them at wincowindows.com. And guys, I'm thrilled. I got a ton of stuff to go over, but first and foremost, thrilled that you'll join me for this podcast. Very excited to talk to both of you.
Really, thank you for giving us the opportunity. It's exciting to get on here and have this new sort of outreach and medium to work on.
It's true. It's actually, that you bring up a great point. It's a great way, because I don't know if I would ever, with the exception of maybe running into you at a show, I get this opportunity to talk with you guys. And I am a fan. I mean, I had Winco on my project of the week a few months ago on my blog, and I like what you do. But now this opportunity to kind of take a deeper dive, that's exciting. So let's start. I'll start with you, Gantt. Now, tell me a little bit about how you got to this point, a little bit of your background, because 100 years in business, great company. Talk a little bit about your past.
Well, I'm not quite that old.
No, I know it's not all. Yeah.
No, I kind of came in through the back door. I married into the family. My wife's grandfather started Winco.
Okay.
He started it over 100 years ago with a patent related to windows. And from that patent, we kind of established, it was issued in 1915. So we didn't know when Winco really started making windows, but we said, let's just call that the day.
Right.
And so that's how the 1915 evolved. But My background is that I came out of architecture. I'm a licensed architect.
Okay.
I used to work for SOM.
Oh, wow.
And up in Chicago was Bruce Graham's team doing all those mega highest buildings in the world type thing back in the 70s. And then I went into the development business. And I worked for and ran the construction for the largest development company in St. Louis for 5 years. And then I decided to go out on my own.
Okay.
And I quit and moved to outside Washington, D.C. and started my own development firm. My wife's father, Woody Kubatsky, who's in the industry a long time, a big member of AMA back in the old AMA days when it was an aluminum association only. And he used to come and visit us all the time. And he'd go up to Henry Taylor. You probably know that name.
Yes. Yes.
And he'd go up to York, Pennsylvania. He'd borrow one of our cars and go up there for some testing. And on one of his trips, he kind of looked at me and he says, "This guy's not going to support my daughter. He's sitting around here listening to classical music, drawing pictures, you know." And so he said, "Son, how would you like to sell some windows for us in the DC area?" And I said, "Oh, I guess I could. I don't know. I don't know anything about windows." And he says, "Well, we just can't sell anything here. We lost our rep, and we'd sure love it if you'd help us out." And so I helped them out, and I did very well. But I wasn't smart enough to know that you're supposed to put in a commission for yourself.
Oh, wow.
So I sold everything without any markups.
Oh my gosh.
And so I ended up being one of their top reps overnight.
Of course.
So that's my first introduction to Winco. And then when I really got involved in the management was about 5 years later. And it's also another kind of interesting story. A month before my father-in-law died, we were playing golf, and he said, I've just about sold Winco. He says, "I'm selling Winco. I want to come work for you. You make more money and have more fun."
Wow.
And then he died, and the rest is history. And then I got involved running Winco.
Wow. Wow. Okay. And that history could have been a lot different. Now, Woody, you come along and did you go right into the business or did you find
no, my story is a little more concise, but
okay.
I had less time to build it.
You went to DC and started to sell windows for no commission. If you that'll shock me if that is the case.
I didn't go that route. It was more of a rite of passage. We started out in high school, pretty much. We all worked in the factory in high school.
Yeah.
So you get down on the line, you learn how to put them together, how the team works there, and get a taste for what you could be doing and what you might not want to be doing, that sort of a thing. Like, here you go, like, this is a real job. Come on and do this. And so that was really the first step there for me in the window industry. I went to college in James Madison University, got a degree that has a management focus, and left there. It had some misguided moments in life, I guess, going down strange paths and career choices as a raft guide and other things, but ended up as in construction, like my father had.
Okay.
And I had my own construction business for over 10 years.
Okay.
And built for a bunch of customers, built for myself, and then sort of got pulled into Winco under the guise of helping them figure out a few things in operations. And before I knew it,
you're in.
Years later, they've made me a VP of something, and gosh, they got me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that well. And again, I'm with Woody and Gantt Miller, Winco Windows. And what's interesting is I know that world. When my brother, I didn't want to be in the business. My family's been in the business since 1898. I didn't want to be in the business, wanted nothing to do with the business. My brother convinced me I was working in TV. My brother convinced me, said, "Hey, give it a shot. You'll love it. Everything will be great." And it's the same sort of scenario. Once I got in, it really is no getting out. I didn't do anything as fun as rafting or building things for myself, but I enjoyed the sports aspect of it. But I was also making $6 an hour, and my brother offered me 650, so I had to go for that. But it brings me to that question. You guys, I have that family dynamic, and it's a tough dynamic. Father and son. I work with my dad, and I work with my brother, my sister, my cousins. I mean, it's really intense. I have to ask. I mean, how do you guys, do it from your end? Because the family dynamic is kind of tough. I mean, that can be challenging. How do you keep things straight between you guys when it's business and it's family?
I think I don't think it's tough. I think it's very rewarding.
Okay.
And Woody's older brother also works with Winco, and
Okay.
he's a top salesman out on the West Coast, and he is elected not to be at the factory, and it worked well. Woody and his younger brother built the last 100 some thousand square foot addition we put on the facility.
Okay.
And I think that's when we really kind of put the hook into Woody. So and he did a great job, and I really I think it's been very rewarding working with the family, and we also, as Woody can tell you, we have other family members, cousins involved too.
So yeah, very, very similar. And I assume the son out west is also named Gantt. That's the other Gantt Miller.
That is the other Gantt Miller, and he has a son named Gantt.
Okay. So are we up to Gantt the fifth or Gantt the sixth?
He's the fifth, and
okay.
He calls me Poppy, and he says, "Poppy, when I grow up, I want your job."
There you go. Yeah, it'll continue. It'll continue. So Woody, before I move on, I mean, family business, the dynamic, you're working with your brothers, your dad. I mean, it's pretty neat.
And my cousins are working there daily at Winco, where I am. One of the things about sort of the family dynamic, I guess, of the family business that I'd love to bring up, which I've always felt is really powerful, is my cousin Brad is there every day working on trying to keep us out of trouble in the engineering and detailing world, saying, "Oh, that's not possible. This is what we need to do." And then my cousin Elise is there on the bookkeeping and collections and accounting and those things, and she's always got bandwidth to jump into the next thing and keep us moving. But beyond that, the really big deal is, we've been around for a long time. And we have employees that have been with us since I was in diapers, and I'm working with them now.
Yeah.
They've been there for 50 years.
That's
and
cool.
we have, it's hard to say that the family doesn't extend a little further, because we do treat one another like family there. There's not a whole lot you wouldn't do for some of those guys that you've known for 30 years, formerly for me.
And I think and I think it comes through because one thing that at least from those of us like me who are on the outside, the one thing I always have heard about Winco is the culture. The culture is very strong, and that obviously comes from that family dynamic that you guys have pushed. And you said it well. I mean, you're working with people that you've known your entire life.
Absolutely.
That's something. Now, those people and you guys have created an incredible company that's so diverse, and that was one of the things I wanted to get into. Is that I'm amazed at how vast that product line is and how vast it is dealing with going from a historic renovation to a hotel and all of these different things in between. I mean, you are very, very vast when it comes to that product offering. Was that by plan, or is that by just you want to keep innovating sort of thing?
I think it's a mind frame that we've been in. We've always been in this mind frame. It's just customization and the service side of it, where we have our good reps out there that are selling a job, that are working with their good customers, and they want something. They want something this way. And I guess we're not good enough to tell them no.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. We go ahead and do it. But so we end up with a die catalog somewhere in like the 700 shapes that we utilize to make all this happen. You know, on any given year, we're making, well, not this year or last year, but on any normal year, we're making between 30 and 70 new dies to work into some sort of customized project. And it's been a mind frame of making it happen, taking on that type of work that doesn't really fit in the other companies, the other places. And we end up solving that problem and being very vital to that type of customer. So yeah, we found a great spot there, and we found amazing loyalty. I mean, 50 years later, you get customers coming back saying, well, Winco did it last time. So,
yeah, no, it's impressive. And Gantt, I mean, you've obviously seen it all. Does it amaze you from the standpoint of how the offering that you have? Because I know when you were probably in your selling Windows days, it was kind of, you didn't have all the different tools at your disposal that you have right now, company wise.
No, but we had the ability to produce something quickly and at a reasonable cost. And we've always seemed to had a shorter lead time than a lot of our competitors. And the company has evolved. Its origins are all in innovation. It started with a patent, and then there are other patents. And even to this day, we're getting patents issued in our name. And we have some very exciting new products that we have produced, and maybe a little bit comes from my architectural background, in which an architect's job is to solve a problem. He's
or to meddle in our issues.
Yeah, and my wife's grandfather, he was a licensed architect also that started Winco. And so there's been that tradition that is carried throughout the company or throughout the years.
Yeah, no doubt. And now, which one of you coined the phrase "history"? History meets innovation. Which way that's, or is that both of you?
That was sort of me.
Okay. Yeah. I like it, and I want to talk about it because I do think that it's one of those things that sets you guys apart, is that you have 100 years of backing, yet you are continuing to innovate, and and like Gantt just said, you're still getting patents to this day. A lot of companies in your position would probably rest on their laurels a little bit. That's not the case with you guys. What's that drive to keep innovating?
It's fun.
It's fun. Yeah. I like it. I like it. No, it makes sense.
You're quickened by the problem. It makes you think through things. It makes you make your process better. Keeps your people interested in you and interested in the company and the prospects out there. We get to do some really neat things.
Yeah, and it sounds like you're basically creating things for solutions for your customers. They're coming to you and saying, "We have this issue. Can you figure it out?" And that's a nice position to be in, that your customers trust you and they've had that experience with you. And so that obviously that lets your Gantt, your architectural mind work, and Woody, your engineering mind work, and then the brothers and the cousins, everybody just goes and we're off and running. I like it. Okay. So let's talk about and I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right. Transcera, is that how you? Okay, so that's a product that was on a job in Nevada or Reno, Nevada, the Pulikitis Elementary School, and I have pictures of this that I'm going to put up for those of you watching on YouTube. You'll be able to see that. Take me through how you guys developed this product and what its space is, or what its part is in the building space.
Well, it's pretty fascinating how it evolved. The chief of police of the city of Reno was new chief of police. He had a meeting with the school board for Reno, and he said, "If you want me to provide protection to your schools, you need to do something different in your schools. You need to have ways that protection, whether it's security glazing or what. And they really didn't know what they wanted, but they came up with this concept. And the concept was that if you have an active shooter in a school and he can't see a target, no one's going to get killed. And so what we designed for them was we designed a roller shade that is sandwiched in between blinds or in between panes of glass, and it would go up and down at a push of a button. The first iteration of it was that a principal at a school could shut down, and I'm talking about some fairly large campuses, every window at the same time to secure the building. And later they said, no, we're a little scared of putting all that responsibility on one person. And so they said, no, we want it just by classroom. And so then we did it the classroom. The fascinating thing is that I never thought I'd see the day where a significant cost of producing a product was software and programming. So we go out and we provide literally in this one school district somewhere between 2,000 and 4,000 windows in various schools, and we have to send software teams, our programming teams, out there for weeks.
Wow!
To get everything programmed right.
Well, we're a whole lot faster now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sure.
It was a learning curve.
Yeah.
It was definitely a learning curve, and we can build ahead now on our programming and plug in and then do the training.
Yeah.
So that goes real quick now.
So we got a real side benefit out of going through this exercise, is that during construction, the first thing a workman would do when he'd come into a room, he'd hit that button to lower all the shades, because it was in the summertime,
right?
And he could drop the temperature in that room 15, 20 degrees.
Sure.
And he'd have a much nicer environment to work in.
Yeah, he didn't have the AC on yet, of course. So
true.
Yeah.
So we've done some energy studies, or we've had outside consultants do it, and we're literally cutting down as much as 35% of the energy, the heating cost, by raising and lowering these based upon outside and inside conditions.
Sure.
And it's kind of fun. We're doing this. We're trying to do it all wirelessly, which is a whole nother challenge because of all the problems with wiring and the trades and so forth. But we have some wireless installations, and we've also, in this avenue, we've developed windows that have actuators on them that are tied to mechanical systems, and so they open automatically when it's time to bring in fresh air.
Beautiful. Yeah, I'm not betting against you for you'll figure out the wireless, I'm sure. I mean, you guys have figured out a lot in 100 years. I don't think you're gonna struggle with this one. That's an exciting project, and it's a great product. It's a product, like you said, that has multiple benefits to the end user, safety, occupant comfort, thermal. I mean, there's a lot to it. So congrats.
And now we're seeing the benefits in the hospital segment and healthcare, because we're taking a surface that they're having problem like drapes, or they were thrown away between patients, different patients, or the cleaning, sanitizing. It was very complicated and expensive, and this can eliminate this and also give the patient some control, because they can have a little like TV remote, and they can make the shades go up and down as they'd like it, and so you're giving them back a little dignity.
Yeah,
that was our VP of engineering on the sort of front end of the whole Winco business. he had his child in his office and was telling him, look, play with this thing and try to break it. And he just had it going up and down and making it go all over. He's like, yeah, let's see what you can do to it, kid. Let's go.
That's the ultimate in R&D right there. I mean, it's a great real life example. I love it. I love it. I'm with Gantt and Woody Miller of Winco Windows. You can find them online at www.wincowindows.com out of St. Louis, but you guys do ship nationwide. I know you have reps everywhere. You do ship nationwide. Again, new products, very vast product line. Just curious, this one just popped into my head. Of all the segments that you're in, the historical renovation, the schools, the hospitals, what's your favorite? What's your favorite one to do? This is a wild card. I gave you an outline of things I might be asking. I did not ask this because it just popped into my head. So Gantt, I'll start with you because I think I caught Woody way off guard. What's your favorite? What's your favorite?
Well, right now I am very excited, and our engineering team, I think, is also very excited, and our IT people about coming up with solutions and strategies to help combat the COVID virus. Also, all across the country, there's these new BEEP standards that are being enacted, energy, building, performance standards, and they're asking to cut down 50% of the energy consumption. And this is just, beautiful, because, and to add to it, there's 40% of the big buildings in the country are single glazed.
Yeah.
So this is such a great opportunity for the window industry, the glazers, and so forth. And we're developing strategies to go into buildings and not disturb the occupants of the building, yet achieve some of these phenomenal energy savings.
I love it. I love it. And Woody, your favorite?
Oh, I'd almost want to cop out on this because I'm in operations, and it's the ones that feel good.
Yeah, the ones that get, yeah, exactly. Okay, that works. I don't blame you.
I really do like seeing the historical ones come together.
Yeah, I mean, you have a full head of hair and you're in operations. How does that happen? I don't understand that.
I'm young.
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't look like it's falling out anytime soon. I love it. Now, it's a very, very cool stuff. And I think the renovation market is just primed to do unbelievable things coming. So you guys are definitely positioned well for that. The other thing I liked about in my research with the both of you is you both volunteer your time, your effort, your care. Gantt, I mean, you've been involved at the AMA side, for a huge amount of time, probably going back to your architect days at SOM. I mean, that's huge. And Woody, I mean, what you're doing to raise money for charities, where does this come from? Your time to give back. I mean, you guys have families, you have a big business that you're running. It's unbelievable that you're doing it, and admirable. And I really respect that. So I'd love to hear a little bit of your insight on why, the volunteerism is so important to both of you guys.
I'll start off, but I'll let Woody give some more details. I really believe that's the American way. And small companies love to give back. And we're a relatively small company, and we get involved in all sorts of outreach projects, and it's just our culture.
Yeah. Yeah. And
what did you tell them about some of the specific things? I can't believe all the second chance and all this other stuff you get involved in.
Yeah, please.
Probably the most poignant one, and probably the most relevant one to what's going on in the industry right now with employment. It's so difficult to get people into our plants to work, and we're giving people chances that didn't get chances in some cases. But that's been, ever since I was in, for a very long time, we've been a second chance type employer, and getting those guys in here, let it be known that out there with that community of people, that it's a safe place. Like, we're going to treat you the same as everybody else, as long as you come on in and do it as expected of someone that's coming to work.
Sure.
And you get a real reward from that. when it doesn't happen, every week or every year, but you get the guys that you've known for a while or that have talked to you or that call you out of the blue and let you know that this has changed the trajectory of my life or my family's life.
Yeah.
And it really does. We're in business. So you get the good and the bad, right? You get some days that are pretty crappy, but then you can come back and you can hear from these people where their lives have gone in a direction that's been a whole lot better. Now, who doesn't want to hear that? Who doesn't want to take that home with them at the end of the day?
Absolutely. And you've also done what I believe canoeing or kayaking. I heard
that was some years ago. Years ago, but that was a charity event for kids, sort of a dream. It was like a dream-based, future-based charities that were helping kids achieve their dreams.
Nice.
So and we did real well on that one, and that was certainly the beginning of that type of volunteerism. And
well, tell them what you did, Woody. I think it's pretty phenomenal and how long it took.
Yeah.
We kayaked from right around Yellowstone National Park to the Gulf of Mexico. So if you follow the maps, it actually works. You take 3 rivers, but you can kayak the whole way. And so it took 110 days was what it took. You can do it faster, but we hung out some places.
Nice. That one I can't wait to tell my son. My son went kayaking a month ago, and it was the first time he ever went kayaking. We're not a very adventurous family, so for him to go out and do it was definitely a out of character sort of thing. And he came back and he's, I am so sore. My shoulders are killing me. That's the worst thing ever. And wait till I tell him you just kayaked, that you did this thing. He will lose his mind. So that is incredibly impressive, because that's not easy. But you did it for a good cause. And I like that. That's big.
Sink into it after a while. It becomes easier than everything else.
Okay. No, I like it. And I salute both of you guys. Your volunteerism and the way you give back is incredible and important. So before I let you go, and again, I'm with Gantt and Woody Miller, Winco Windows. You can find them online, wincowindows.com. What are you guys saying for next year? We're coming out of this. I assume we're coming out of this adventure that seemingly never ends. But what are you guys seeing for 2022? How's the business looking? How's the market looking for you? What's your gut telling you?
It looks pretty strong right now.
Okay.
And a lot of opportunities, a lot of challenges with supplies.
Yes.
The glass is in short, aluminum's short, paint short, hardware short. And so the extra effort that's being put on people to make everything come together is incredible. And so far they're doing I think an exceptional job, and I'm the guy that when people get really mad, and if they know me, they'll call me.
Right.
And I have not gotten a call this year about us not performing and delivering super late or something. Now I'm sure we delivered late, and we have our problems like every other company. Yeah. But I have yet to receive a phone call this year with all this craziness going on with a customer complaining and saying, well, you're not doing what you should be doing to help us.
That speaks volumes to what you've been able to do in the past too. And what do you obviously supply chain is a problem, and you're an operations guy, so that's got to be an adventure for you.
It's a constant. One of our vice president of sales, Sir Curtis, said the other day, you know what, we really are just pulling off little minor miracles every day just to get it out the door on Friday. And that really is the truth. It's not the truth just at our company. It's all across the industry. Yeah. Everybody is fighting this fight, and it's pretty amazing. It speaks a lot to the industry in general that we're keeping the cart on the tracks here and going places still. But what really is defining it for me is there's a lot of demand out there.
Yeah.
there's a lot of people that want our goods, and it is going to be difficult to get it to them. And the way we forecast that, the way we try to hedge our supplies and understand what our demand is going to be, without impacting schedules in a way that really is detrimental to our bottom lines, because you only can produce so much in a month.
Right.
You know, you need to get it in. You need to have the materials to do it. So that is really the crux of the entire thing, and the forecasting efforts, the planning efforts that we're putting forward right now. If you're out there and you're not doing it, I mean, it's hard to forecast. We always feel like we're dummies a year later. We're like, wow, that didn't happen. But but if you do nothing, you really don't have a chance.
Yeah, and that's what I've been pushing. A couple themes. One is that planning and communication is so important. Being ahead of the game the best you can, and communicating up and down the supply chain. And the other thing is I think Gantt was alluding to it, is the resiliency, and you said it too. In a way, Woody, is that the resiliency of our industry is incredible. The fact that we are in a glass shortage, the fact that metal and framing so hard to get, and hardware so hard to get. This is unbelievable, challenging. And you guys have been through a lot of wars in 115 years or 105 years worth of business since 1915. I mean, so you've seen it, but this is definitely a heck of a challenge. But it's nice to see, the way you're taking it on head on with a good approach, communication systems, being a structure. And that's why I think it's working for you.
We're keeping our fingers crossed every day.
Yeah. Keep it
up.
up.
Yeah, we're definitely going to try hard the whole way, and we got a team at the plant that's amazing. The whole support network's been great, and all of our partners out there in the industry. We keep the supply chains open. These relationships have been here for a long time.
Yeah,
and they're not going anywhere. You have those conversations with the guy that's sending you the letter that you're going up 10% again. It's like, oh my goodness, what's going on? Like, so, but the guy is still calling you.
Yeah. No, it is definitely a special time in our world, at so many different levels. But again, I think the way you guys have handled things, it's gonna come through on the other side looking good. And I hope you guys keep kicking butt out there. I mean, I'm real impressed. I look forward to getting to know you guys better, meeting you both in person one of these days. I'm just glad you gave me a half an hour to come chat with me. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Max, for inviting us. It was a pleasure.
No, this has been great. And again, you can find these guys online at wincowindows.com. More than 100 years in the business with some really neat products, and that vast product line that Woody still has a whole head of hair. That's probably the biggest takeaway here. So I give you a lot of credit, but thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Max.
Okay. I am really excited about this next interview. I am with Emily Yukish, who is the Vice President of Administration. That's right, Finance and Administration of Specified Systems in Pittsburgh. They are a top 50 glazer every year on Glass Magazine's list for the most part. And they are able to be found at specifiedsystems.com online. They do amazing work. Emily, I'm thrilled to have you on the podcast. Thanks for being here.
Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. And this is definitely, I have to give full credit to my brother, who he has an incredible knack at recognizing talent. He's done it our entire life, with the exception of picking me once upon a time and putting me to work. Everybody else that he, says is really, really good is really, really good. And so he said to me, he said, you got to get to know Emily because she's so bright. She's sharp. She's really got it. So you got to have her on a podcast. So my brother gets full credit for this one, as in most things that I do in my life. So you have a huge fan in Stevie P.
Well, I'm glad about that. He's a really good mentor to me, so I really appreciate it.
He's a good man. So let's talk about you. I did a little bit of research on you, and so you went to Cal State in Pennsylvania, right? Cal,
I actually went to I did Cal for my MBA.
Oh, okay.
Well, taking you back a little bit further.
Please.
Not a lot of people actually know this. Everybody kind of, even probably people who work for our company, kind of assume that I just kind of came into the industry, but I didn't. So I went to Muskingum College in Ohio.
Okay. Yep. I went to Ohio University, so I know Muskingum.
Oh, so you know that area.
Yep.
Yeah, Muskingum's big claim to fame is John Glenn
Yes.
area,
Yes.
Jack
Yes.
Hanna, the animal guy.
Yep. From Columbus to
Um,
Columbus Zoo. Absolutely. Yes.
yep, yep. So I went to Muskingum, graduated, and I actually worked outside in a different industry out
Okay.
of college. So I went into the apparel decoration industry.
Okay. Okay.
That's actually where I met my husband, Adam.
Nice. Nice.
He worked there doing selling like vinyl to like t-shirt printers and things
Okay.
like that. Then one day got the call that I was needed. My dad begging me to come in, but
So your dad Bill Wilson is the CEO of
yes,
Specified System, and so
yes,
it's interesting because you and I have a very similar history because I was at the NBC affiliate in Pittsburgh and I got that same phone call from my brother that said, "Dude, we're growing like crazy. We really need you. Enough of you living your fun life. We need you over here."
yeah.
I assume you had a similar phone call with your dad then.
I did, because I wasn't really ever planning on coming into the industry. I wanted to do my own thing. I didn't know if it was really if it was going to be the right thing for me. So I wanted to experience other things. And
Yes.
so I had some difficult decisions to make, but I opted to come in.
Hmm.
And I started in sales.
Okay.
I was able to kind of see how things operated, and then transitioned into purchasing, which then transitioned into the finance and administration part of the business, and that's where I've landed, and I think I'm good at, and
Yeah.
I like it a lot.
I like that you touched a bunch of different pieces of the business too. That gives you a wider kind of understanding of what you're up against. You know,
Yeah, and I can understand what everybody is kind of dealing with on the day-to-day basis to kind of pull it all together.
and glass and glazing is a lot different than apparel decoration, I assume.
It is. It's very, very different.
I'm curious.
It's a little bit more complex.
Yeah, I can imagine the intensity of especially the jobs you guys do. I mean, you're not doing. I mean, I know you do all sorts of work, but you're not doing little tiny, a strip mall sort of thing. You guys do some intense work, so
Yeah.
you have to learn and learn quick and be on your toes. And so, definitely a far cry from where you started out in life.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely a fast paced all the time kind of industry that we're in here, which is exciting. I like it a lot.
Absolutely. So has it been 12 years? Do I have that right? You've been in it
Yes,
12
it
years?
has been 12 years. So I came into the business in 2009.
Okay.
Then I started my MBA soon after that.
Okay.
And I graduated from Cal
Okay.
in 2011 with my MBA.
Gotcha. So you came into the business in the teeth of the recession. So boy, you didn't make anything easy on yourself.
No.
That I said, no wonder you're so good right now. You didn't start when things were going crazy. You started when things were really, really tough. I mean,
Yeah.
that's impressive. And that speaks to Specified. I want to talk to you about the growth because your growth has been, explosive. I mean, I haven't been in the Pittsburgh market. I left Pittsburgh in '97, but I still kept in touch. And obviously, our family's company was there for a long time.
Mhm.
But your growth from afar, it was kind of like complete rocket ship. That's got to blow you away over what's happened the last 12 years.
Yeah, it's been crazy because I mean the business started with my dad and my mom and one other gentleman, and they kind of did everything and then added people as needed, and it's now just our company alone has 34 employees full time, and we hit around like 2016 or 2017. Our revenue just like shot up, and we weren't I think we were prepared, but not prepared.
Right.
So it was kind of the turning point for us. So it forced us to get into that, assessing the big picture of who we
Yes.
wanted to be
Yes.
and whether or not bigger was better, and just growing and adapting, and we kind of stuck with that level of growth until COVID hit and things started to kind of pare down just a little bit. But now we're just focusing on the process improvement, and having the right people, focusing on quality, and really and staying steady in the market the way it is.
And you are. There's no doubt that the reputation is huge, and that comes from I think recognizing in 2016, like when you started to see that growth internally, okay, we need to be really organized and we need to be really on top of our game. And that makes a difference then. And also now when COVID hits, you guys weren't really caught, kind of looking, because you had started to create systems and process improvement, you're in a better place. So that's got to make you feel good that, hey, we did all the right things back 5-6 years ago to prepare for now.
Yeah, and it's definitely it's a constant process improvement, and
Yes.
and we're always growing and learning and trying to figure out the best way we can do things. And so it's a learning experience, but we did set ourselves up in a pretty good place.
Yeah, kudos to you and to Bill and the team, because I think that it is also a big time team effort there for you guys to, to get there. And you made all the right moves there to date. And I like the fact that you said the process improvement never ends. And I think that's a big key, because I think some people get kind of comfortable. They make a few changes, it works, and they're like, okay, we're good, we can settle. And it doesn't sound like you guys are in that settle mode. You're always trying to improve.
We are, and I think that it's difficult for a lot of people to get out of their comfort zone with that kind of thing and adapt to the changing marketplace. And just because something worked really well at one point doesn't mean that it's going to be the best way to do it going forward.
Yes.
I think that it's a big challenge. It's a challenge to get your employees on board with any of that change, especially the old timers who've been around for 20 years, but once you can get them to buy into that and show them it's really a good thing for that change, then you're in a better spot.
Absolutely. And you said to get out of your comfort zone. And that reminds me of, when I asked you to do this podcast, you said, that's normally not my thing, but I like to challenge myself and get out of my comfort zone. And so I like the fact that personally you're walking the walk the same way you're talking the talk within Specified. So kudos to you.
Thank you.
So let me ask you, what's the big challenge? I mean, I think that, we could talk about labor or supply chain and but what are those the number one challenges, or are there other challenges that you guys are facing every day?
There's a couple of them. There's the short-term challenges and long-term challenges. I think that short-term, especially right now, is all these price increases, supply chain issues, labor shortages, being able to get product on site. And then what we deal with as a glazing contractor is we're bidding projects that may not be starting for 18 to 20 months. And we can honestly say we have no idea what the products that we quoted are going to cost at that point. And it's difficult because you have to figure out how you're going to deal with those. Will we be able to get any escalation change orders or anything from the contractors, it's difficult to do.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what we're dealing with right now because there's so much uncertainty in the marketplace right now.
And you being VP of Finance, you're probably not in the greatest position right now, given the inflationary tactics and pricing. You probably wish you were in sales right now, right?
Yeah. It's not my favorite thing to deal with all these price increases.
No, I feel bad for the purchasing people and the finance people right now. Your groups are definitely in the soup.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody else might have a little bit of a more sane world, but I feel for you. But it sounds though like obviously you guys are attacking everything the best you can head on.
Yeah, we're doing the best we can with what we've got, but then another looking more long term though.
Yes, please.
Now, I think that one of the things that is difficult is that the young people that are coming into the industry, it seems like there's more of a trend now to kind of bounce around, not looking for a long-term career that they want to develop in.
Right.
They want to just work for a couple years and move on to the next thing. So we're such a technical industry.
Yeah.
That how do we get, as the industry veterans kind of retire and move on, how are we going to fill that void?
Yes.
And that's a huge challenge for us. And I know that probably a lot of other people are experiencing the same thing.
It is, and that's also on this podcast I have Ron Parker, who is a plant and operations whiz, and we talked about the fact that this is such a manual sort of industry, especially what you do on the glazing side. You need people, humans, to power a lot of this stuff. You can't have you can't switch things to all automation and computers, especially on the installation side.
Yeah.
And so you need that. And you're right. I mean, the sophistication has to be there. And that a lot of that is learned from doing job after job and recognizing site conditions. Yeah. I mean, I think that, you bring up a big issue is where our future is and how we engage this next generation to stay with us longer. But we have a short attention span world right now. And it's
Yeah.
probably because of social media that, I have a daughter who's great. She's 21. I love her. I'm biased. She's great. She is the type where she's like, you know what? I want to do this for a couple years, but then I might want to do that for a couple years. So the days of, hey, I'm going to go do this and it's going to be my career are different. So we have to do something different to attract these folks and keep them. And I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, I don't either.
I'll let you figure that out. Let us know when you have it. Yeah, I'm sure
I will.
You'll have it in no time. Well, let's talk about one of the jobs that you just that you've done. I asked you to show me a project, and for those of you watching on YouTube, you'll be able to see this. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, check out specifiedsystems.com. There's tons of jobs up there, but this job is in Pittsburgh, 1600 Smallman. Talk to me about why this job is interesting to you and why we're showing it to the audience here.
So this is an interesting job because it was both a retrofit and a new construction project.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it was one of the old buildings in Pittsburgh that they redeveloped, and so half of it was a renovation, and then they also added on a parking garage to the other side.
Okay.
So, and it had a bunch of a good mix of products as well. So we used in the on the second, third, and fourth floors that you can see on the picture. We used some Conair historical replica windows.
Okay.
The first floor was all Conair curtain wall and doors. All of the glass had these Frontier applied muttons on them to replicate the original windows that were in the building.
Gotcha.
Then the parking garage side was all Conair storefront on the first floor. And then we did on the second, third, and fourth, we did a simulated storefront that was made out of aluminum tubing.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah. And so it was all Vitro glass, SB70. W.A. Wilson was our provider on all the glass.
That'll make a certain relative of mine happy. Yes.
Yes, it will. And it was interesting too, because with the applied grids, we also had to do the between glass muttons.
Oh, okay.
Grids weren't in, so we actually had to send drawings so that all of the muttons would end up matching up with the field conditions. So it was kind of a challenge, but it was executed really, really well.
It sounds like a ton of challenges just starting off, half renovation, half new. Historic matching, which is never easy. And that again shows the sophistication of specified systems, is that you guys can take on something like historic renovation, which is always a challenge. And then, kind of all those extra steps, but I like the team. I mean, Conair, Vitro, and W.A. Wilson, all great companies, teaming up, collaboration with you. It works. Congrats.
Project. Thanks. Yeah, we're pretty proud of that one.
Absolutely. And so this is a good project. And again, to see more of Specified Systems, you can find them online, specifiedsystems.com, and learn more about the company as well. So before I let you go, because we already talked about the family dynamic. So, so that still blows me away. But what do you, because I didn't know you and I had almost the same exact story. So, and it's funny because if Bill, your dad knew my brother way back when, I could say that they were in cahoots together to come up with this, but the time frame is completely different. But what do you, so switching gears a little bit. So what are you guys forecasting for 2022? I know you said things kind of settled down here in the COVID time, but now and I know we're a little bit of a soft period, has some buildings didn't take off, and there's some worry about what goes on. What is Specified Systems looking at for 2022, market wise?
We're kind of in the cautiously optimistic.
Okay. Okay.
It gets more difficult every quarter to be optimistic about it.
It's a challenge, right?
Last week we got nailed with a couple more price increases, but I think we're just going to ride it out and see how it goes. We're going to work on continuing to improve our processes. We're going to make sure that we're pricing things the right way. We're going to be investing in our people, figuring out, do we need to invest in additional equipment? Do we need to look out and make sure that we're doing things the best way, the most efficient way, so we can pick up some money on the labor side. So we're kind of in that space.
Yeah.
But
Well,
who knows what the market's going to bring, you know?
True. But this is where, again, your energy and your skill set plays into this. And I would feel more comfortable having somebody with your skill set and your energy in the position you're in to help lead me through this kind of financial, muck of a mess versus somebody who is ready to retire next week. You know what I mean? I think that you have, in everything that I've heard and now getting to know you over the last half hour, you have that drive that you're not going to be pushed back by this challenge. I have a feeling you're going to knock this thing out. So I'm excited to see what you do.
Well, thanks. Yeah, you always have to just kind of think outside of the box and figure out how to solve the problem. It's not going to go away. There's going to be those ups and downs. So you just got to figure out a way to make it through them.
I've tried to ignore the problems, but for some reason they just don't. It doesn't mean that when I don't reply to the email, I hope that it maybe the problem goes away with the email. It doesn't work that way.
I always say, like, whenever I get the glass price increases, I call up and tell our supplier as well, I respectfully decline these price increases. So
if it was just that easy to do, I mean, if I, my Diet Dr. Pepper is now more expensive at the supermarket, I wish I could just go in and say, I want to pay what I paid last week for this. Yeah, it's a heck of a challenge, but I know you're up to it. I know Specified Systems is up to it. You guys are, like I said earlier, on a rocket ship. I'm so impressed, with your company, what you've done, obviously what your dad and the other team members have done. It's been amazing to watch. And I mean, I know you're going to drive through this. And I looked forward to the day where when I asked you to do a podcast, you're like, no, I'm doing Joe Rogan. I'm doing all these other podcasts. I don't have time for you. So I look forward to that when I have to set up a podcast with you like 2 years in advance to get on your schedule.
Yeah, that would be amazing, huh?
It'll happen. It'll happen. Thank you so much for your time today, and congrats on what you're doing, and good luck going forward.
All right. Thanks, Max.
Thank you. Okay. I am thrilled to have this next interview. I am being joined by Ron Parker. Ron is in my mind, at least, the best industry consultant, operations guy, safety, guru, you name it. Ron, it's just great to have you here. I look forward to talking with you over the next few minutes.
Well, thank you. It's great to be here. I appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely. So Ron's got a company, Parker Glass Solutions. Ron has got a pretty interesting background, and that's where I want to start. I got to meet you a few years back, and I was kind of smitten because you walked me through the plant you were at, and I was so amazed at everything that you had going on. But before we kind of get into the plant adventures, tell me a little bit about your past, how you got into the glass industry, and all the way up to today.
All right. I've worked my whole life. Started out in the fields as picking strawberries when I was 7 or 8 years old, and worked ever since then.
Is glass easier than strawberries? Picking strawberries does not sound fun.
I don't know. Yeah, I think I'll take glass over the strawberries. Yeah.
Okay.
It was a platoon bus at 4:30 in the morning, and you treated like a platoon. So
yes.
But anyway, worked in the farms and stuff through high school, and then went to college. After college, was recruited by Frito-Lay, and had the opportunity to work for a Fortune 100 company, and learned a lot of amazing things there. They've, have been successful for so many years. Frito-Lay still generates 80% of PepsiCo's net profit after tax, or at least it was at the time. So they're very, very good at running highly efficient manufacturing operations, which was a great start for me in manufacturing. went from there to the wood products industry. So corn chips to wood chips to glass chips.
I like it.
So after I left wood products, was there for 4 years and built a door factory and ran that for a little while. Left that, went to the glass industry, and basically it was probably I think the only job I've ever actually got where I applied for via ad in the paper. And
Wow.
The owner of a little company called Oregon Glass at the time in Wilsonville, Oregon, was looking for an investor to join him, basically because the business was struggling, and he had tried to sell it and wasn't able to get what he wanted for it, and so I was looking for somebody to invest, and I responded to the ad and said, I can't invest, but I can fix this thing. So we had an agreement and started there, and that was my beginning of the glass industry. So that was a business that was transitioning from supplying primarily wood door industry,
Okay.
TDLs, whether monolithic or IG, and kind of had to transition away from that because the wood door industry was moving away from geographically moving away, but also from a product standpoint, moving away from what we were doing. So in turning the company around, we did a lot of things, I think, just really out of the box, and we're able to kind of set the standard in our area. For example, we were taking orders in Wilsonville, Oregon, up to 11 o'clock in the afternoon and delivering a full truckload of custom tempered glass to Vacaville, California by 7 a.m. the next morning. So we got a lot of attention doing that, and got a lot of our competitors' business. Was able to, because of that, we were able to like I said, get the customer's attention and brought the value of the company up to the point where the owner wanted to sell,
Right.
Which he did, and sold to one of our competitors.
Okay.
So I was stuck around for about a year, and then moved on, was recruited by Cardinal,
Right.
and asked to build a factory in Galt, California for producing low-E coatings. So did that and started in late 98, had the factory up and running middle of 99.
Right.
I think within about 3 years, we were probably the highest volume low-E coater in the world. We were doing about 10 million square feet a month on that coater at that point in time. So, and that was double silver, triple silver, self-clean. So we had a lot going on in that facility.
Right.
Again, great opportunity to learn the glass industry and see what Cardinal did really well, which is a lot.
Yes.
Obviously, very successful company and did a lot of things well. Went from there to Vitrum Industries in Vancouver, British Columbia.
Right.
And ran that facility for a little over 4 years, and helped kind of transition that from a smaller family-owned business to one of the largest fabricators on the West Coast.
Right.
Towards the end of that was, I'd been watching from my days in the low-E, watching the dynamic glass. We had a customer ask me, make us a coating that switches, and we talked about it at Cardinal and looked into what it took to do that, and Cardinal had kind of decided not to go that direction, mainly due to the concerns about dealing with lithium.
Sure.
On a large scale, which is can be quite dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. But anyway, I'd been watching it in the background. I knew what Sage was doing briefly, or lightly, a little bit what they were going through. And I was contacted by View and asked to come down and talk with them. So I went down to Silicon Valley and chatted with them and understood what they were doing and what the plan was. And it was an exciting opportunity to get into something completely different and kind of the bleeding edge of the glass industry, if you will. It's about as close to rocket science as you can get in our industry, I think. So I decided to take that opportunity and see if we could ride that wave with, typical venture capital company. You're hoping to build it and sell it quickly and make a big exit. That's supposed to be a 3 to 5 year exercise, and you either fail or succeed. But 7 years into it, we were still plodding along, trying to get everything where it needed to be. And I'd gone out to Mississippi to build that factory.
Yes.
And that was the one where I first met you. You came and toured our factory in Mississippi. And that was an amazing experience because we were doing things, basically setting world records on a monthly basis, doing things nobody on the planet had ever done before. And a great team of people, and really Again, a lot of automation, a lot opportunity to learn a lot of things that I don't think you'd get elsewhere in the glass industry.
Nice.
So that was really exciting.
And it's funny. Well, I know you got another step to go. Go ahead, and then I got like a 3 or 4
Well,
questions.
just from view, after 7 years in Mississippi and not seeing an end in sight, just decided, my wife and I, that quality of life was more important for where we're at in our lives, and decided to move back to the Northwest. And that's what we did. So we came back.
Gotcha. And so backing up on a couple, one is the fact that, you know, your association with Cardinal is where a lot of people who will probably watch and listen to this will know that, because you had such a, such a position there. Obviously what you did at View, and I got to see that, and we'll talk a little bit more about, the experience of seeing that plant when it came to safety. That was the thing that really jumped out at me. I mean, automation's definitely one that's on my list to talk about, but a slight detour. I did not know you worked for Frito-Lay. And I had to ask, have you seen the documentary? It's one of those documentaries on the History Channel, The Food That Built America. They have one about Frito-Lay. It's fascinating, and you'd get into it since you cut your teeth there.
Yeah, Bill Corn, and I mean, back to the guys at Herman Lane and Bill Corn, and that was a great experience. So in fact, I remember you talking about it on one of your previous podcasts. Yeah. So I haven't watched it yet, but I definitely need to.
Yeah, they're well done. They're quick little bites, but they end up making you go down the rabbit hole of, after I watched the Frito-Lay one, it made me go down the rabbit hole of Frito-Lay's history. I had no idea you worked there. So that's fascinating. All right. So in between, you having a kind of a lifestyle change, you did battle a health adventure, and thankfully, amazingly thankfully, you are in great shape right now, and all good. Just briefly, I know it's a really long story, and you and I talked a little bit about that. It is a long story, but how did you survive this thing? Because most people, I don't think, thought you had much of a chance.
Well, when I was diagnosed, they said you had zero chance. This is not a disease that ever has any other outcome. There's one outcome, and that's death. Was diagnosed in 2017 with Lou Gehrig's disease. So, and I was diagnosed very early because I also have multiple sclerosis, which I've had since 2007. So I was already seeing a neurologist. And when we moved back to the Northwest, I had to find a new neurologist. Went in for a check on the MS, and had a couple other weird symptoms. And he said, well, let's check them out. He said, I know you're going to go home and Google these symptoms, and it's going to say it could be ALS. He said, don't worry, it's impossible to have both. So no big deal. I went and had the test. Well, the test came back, and he said, well, maybe it's not impossible. You have ALS. Eventually went and got 2 second opinions from 2 other top neurologists at University of Washington and Seattle. And they all came back, the same diagnosis. You have ALS, and you've got 2 to 4 years to live. And most of that's going to be a pretty brutal downhill battle, as every voluntary muscle in your body loses the ability to control it as your motor neurons die. So I went through a pretty dark time in my life, and dealing with that diagnosis, and in the end, I guess one of the things I've learned is that what you think may be the baddest, the worst possible news, and the worst situation you could ever envision really can end up being the best. And it was a great gift for me. It taught me to live again, taught me to really examine my life and my priorities, and change how I was living my life, and really changed who I am.
Right.
I didn't have a lot of options for physical exercise at that point per the doctors. So I took up yoga, which I highly recommend. It's just been fantastic for me physically, but also mentally. Yoga is a form of meditation, and one of that grew into a meditation practice of mindfulness meditation. So between the meditation and yoga, and took up a lot more running. So, and you and I have talked about our propensity to run. And I changed my diet. I've also changed to a diet of almost 100% raw fruit. And here I am 4 years later, stronger and healthier than I've ever been in my life. And for the last 2 years, they haven't been able to find a trace of the ALS.
It's amazing.
And they can't explain why. My neurologist still is absolutely dumbfounded. It turns out, they don't tell you this when you're diagnosed, but there's a doctor, Richard Bedlack at Mass General, who studies cases of ALS reversals,
Okay.
which means it happens. And there's
Wow.
now been 37 documented cases, which is why they don't tell you it's 37 out of, hundreds of thousands or maybe even millions of
Millions.
cases,
Yeah.
where every other case has ended up in death, and there's 37 that haven't.
Well, you're
So
you're one of the lucky 37, which is exciting.
absolutely. And I realize how lucky I am, and I want to make the most out of every minute I have left of life and do as much as I can to make a significant impact, make a difference, and help people wherever I can.
Yeah, and you do. I mean, that's the one thing that I've liked about you is your attitude has always been, hey, how can I help? And also your attitude's been, how can we make things better? And in a weird way, for me, there might be some karma playing, because we talked a little bit about safety, and the safety that you push for your plants. And when I went and saw you in Mississippi, that was the first thing that jumped out at me, was like, my gosh, this plant is unbelievable with the attention to detail safety wise. And it's like, I think before you got sick, the fact that you were always focused on keeping other people healthy, maybe somebody looked down on you and said, hey, this guy kept a lot of people healthy. Let's throw him one. But talk to me about where you came in. I mean, every safety, sometimes, people say it and they don't, sometimes they don't walk the walk, sort of thing. You walk the walk, talk the talk from safety. Where did that come from, and why is it so crucial? Because it can make a difference in the efficiency of your plant.
Well, I at Frito-Lay, big company, union environment, very adversarial relationship between union and management, which it doesn't always have to be in those environments, but in this case it was. And a lot of falsified injuries that you couldn't do anything about. And I really came away from that job feeling like there was no point. You can't manage safety. People want to fake an injury. They can. There's nothing you can do. Even the things that are serious, legitimate injuries where people really got hurt. Again, how can I prevent that? You slipped on a wet floor. It's a factory. There's wet floors. So it kind of felt totally like managing safety was totally futile. Went into the wood products industry, and 2 months after I started at that company, there was a fatality.
Oh, wow.
And I was in HR at the time, and sort of over safety, you're starting to take that piece of the business. I had no opportunity to change that situation. It was that was built up too long before I ever got there. But I decided right then and there I would never wanted to go through that again, and I was going to find a way to make a difference with it when it comes to safety. So really started looking at it and studying, trying to learn myself, why is it that we have these issues, and how do we get around that? So I've ever since then spent my career trying to find better and better ways to manage safety. And I think we've built a fairly solid approach in general to doing that. And it was nice at Cardinal. I was able to really experiment and try some things differently. And same thing at Beecham Industries in Canada. The owner is very supportive of trying to improve the safety, which was very problematic when I got there.
Right.
Extreme, a lot of injuries, way too many. We got that down to 1 or 2 a year after, being at 40 or 50 a year.
Wow.
And so when I started View, we were able to start from scratch, and it's really a privilege to be able to build a factory from scratch.
Yeah.
You can put everything in place exactly the way you want it to be, or the way you think it should be, right from the beginning. No excuses anymore. So if something's not working the way people think it should, there's nobody to go blame but you,
right?
Or nowhere to go to find the reason. So really had built a good team of people around me by that point that had followed me from Cardinal to some of them to Vitrum, some of them on to View, and that group, we were able to put together a safety program in Mississippi for View that was just incredible. In total, I think what View and the Silicon Valley experience added to it was a real respect for the data, which I hadn't had prior to that. And I think that was kind of the final piece that helped me build a solid program for managing safety and preventing injuries. And we went through the entire construction process, building that factory without a single injury. We fired up, and I think the first 3 or 4 years had one injury, maybe two that were completely preventable and very disappointing, things that we taught people from day one not to do, and so many do. But overall, I 100% believe we can run any one of these factories with zero injuries. There's just never a time when an injury has to happen.
And you can run a plant with zero injuries or very,
Absolutely.
very minimal without affecting efficiency and production too. I think that's the thing that people sometimes get lost with.
I would disagree with you, Max.
Oh, okay.
Because when you run a plant for maximum safety, one of the things that I've found, and I've taught some of the managers who work for me, you got 8 or 10 variables that are really important in your business: safety, quality, cost, managing employee performance, the basics that we all have to pay attention to.
Right.
And it's a lot for us to manage all of those things in a business. And the higher you get in business, the more of that business you have to manage all of those variables over. What I've found is if you do really focus on one or two of those variables, and I usually pick safety and quality, if you can build the discipline required to be very, very safe and to produce very, very high quality, you don't need to worry about profitability. You don't need to worry about costs. You don't need to worry about morale and employee performance. It's a discipline. When it exists in one silo of your business, will automatically spread to the other silos. So I do think it affects efficiency. It helps it.
Yes. Yeah, you take it the other way. Yeah. So that's because I do think that I think sometimes owners will look at it and say, oh my gosh, it's just going to be a drag. And you're saying, no, it can have the absolute opposite effect if you do it right.
Yeah. Yeah. When I walk into a factory now and I look around, I very quickly look at the product flow, at what the people are doing. I can tell, is this a disciplined manufacturing operation? Or is this a fly by the seat of your pants, third world, tribal knowledge operation?
Right.
And you can tell pretty quickly. And usually if one or two of those variables is really tight, everything's tight.
Yeah. No, you're onto something there. And so talk to me about, what's, if you walked into a plant today, the average plant, what's the one thing we're missing overall that you think we could do better as an industry? I mean, obviously we can always do better safety wise, but what else are we missing that we can do better as an industry?
Well, I think I would try to take that up to a high enough level that if you do it better, everything below it gets better. So I would say, for the most part, the glass operations that I've been in and a lot around the country and over the times, just whether working there or contacts of friends, but it seems more often than not, our industry runs by tribal knowledge.
Yeah.
It runs by seat of the pants, it runs by experience, but it does not run by structure and systems. If you go to a company like Frito-Lay or IBM or somebody, that's not the case. Those companies are big. They can't run by the seat of the pants, and they can't but run by tribal knowledge and produce those kinds of products with the kind of reliability and predictability and on-time performance that are required in those industries.
Right.
And so that's what I think we're missing, and what we need to start looking for is ways to put the structure into our organization so that really it can run day to day almost on its own. You don't need management to be constantly involved in the firefighting of the moment. Those things all get taken care of through the policies and procedures and structures in your organization. And part of that is that manufacturing discipline as well, whether that's manufacturing or service industry, when you get into glaziers or, even on the retail side of our industry. But it's having everything as systematized as possible so that it happens the same way every time and in the way that you want it to. So it's predictable. There's no guessing. I don't have to worry about if something's going to be on time or rejected or not.
Right.
My systems will take care of that.
I like it. No, that makes sense. I'm with Ron Parker. If you're just tuning in, Ron Parker, Parker Glass Solutions, leading, in my opinion, the best independent glass consultant, operation, production, safety, a plant guru, no doubt. And I know one of the things you and I have talked about, one of the things I'm really heavy on is automation and having to go to automation. It just seems to be such a must. Where do you come down in the whole automation argument? I know you've seen it all. You've been a part of a lot of things. You're thinking, what you're thinking so far on how we have to automate the glass fabrication plant these days.
Well, it's funny. Automation means different things to different people.
Right.
But when I started in glass, I mean, there was zero automation, no lifting assist devices, no. I mean, I actually invented our first automation, which was a small machine that would automatically drop a TDL that would go into a polisher and drop another one and go in. So I didn't have to stand there and feed them. So we looked for ways to do some of that stuff. But I think for our industry and what we're seeing in our society right now, and even, I don't know, it's not a worldwide phenomenon, but certainly in the United States, labor is the biggest constraint facing most businesses today. Every business I know could do more, produce more, sell more, make more money if they could get more people. And I don't know that situation is going to change. I think these are societal changes. These are generational changes. There's just not going to be a lot of people, 20-something people, who want to work in a hot, sweaty factory doing manual labor. They grew up with a joystick in their hand in front of a TV in an air-conditioned house. So their expectations of life and employment are much different. And we need to face that reality. So I think automation, where that comes in, is in two ways. One, you're just not going to be able to find people that want to do that kind of manual labor in the types of environments that we typically have.
Right.
So you've got to automate to do things that people are doing to begin with. The second piece of that, I think, is what automation brings, the sophistication that it brings, is what that next generation of workers is interested in. They'd be more than happy to run a robot all day. That's exciting to them.
Yes.
Or a CNC, highly sophisticated automated line. That's exciting to them. But sitting there and moving a piece of glass from here to there all day, that's just not something they're interested in doing. So I think automation is just unavoidable from a labor shortage standpoint. We have to do it. I think the trick for automation for us is it's easy to find equipment. And whether you're talking about automation being a simple lifting device on a jib gantry crane or a jib crane or a gantry crane, or whether you're talking about automation being a full FANUC robot moving something from this piece to that, there's different levels of that. But the equipment's easy to find and easy to put in place. Where we run into challenges is we don't have the talent in our industry, for one, to run that kind of automation. We don't have the discipline to run that kind of automation. You can't run those highly sophisticated automated lines and do the lack of cleaning and the lack of preventative maintenance and the lack of planning that you have to do for that type of equipment. And that's what's, I think, a big piece that's got to change. We have to embrace the discipline of a clean, almost spotless clean factory.
Yeah.
Because that's what that equipment needs to run. And we have to recognize that this isn't a maintenance guy you go find under a shade tree someplace. This is a maintenance guy who was working on aircraft prior to that.
Right.
That's the level of discipline you need if you want to successfully run automation, is aircraft mechanic level discipline.
And it's a huge change for the typical industry player, but it's a necessary change because, like you said, this labor situation is not going to get better. It's only going to get worse.
Yeah, we're going to become irrelevant eventually.
Absolutely. And I had to laugh when you said about some of the disciplines, because I know when we were busy back in my fabricating day, we didn't do maintenance on our oven for months upon months upon months. We did maintenance when it broke. That was it. We knew it was time for maintenance when it broke down. That's it. That's it.
And I think if most of the industry is honest with themselves, that's how we're still operating today. How many people have changed a bearing on a furnace fan motor before it failed?
No, never. No.
Yeah. So again, preventative maintenance is one thing. The next level that you really have to get to with automation is actually predictive maintenance.
Yes.
Which is a whole nother step beyond preventative, and we're not even at preventative yet. So.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we've got a ways to go, but I'm hoping between what I preach, what you preach, and we do have some great equipment suppliers. Like you said, the equipment's available. Oh, yeah. And I think that those folks, I had, Michael and Carolyn Spellman on last month at IGE, they know it real well. And the key is that, again, you have to, to take that leap. And then, like you said, put the right people in place, and it pays off in the end. It really does.
Yeah, somebody that really wanted to get seriously automated on, to virtual no-touch glass factory. I'd spend the first 2 years doing nothing but building the team and putting the policies and structure and procedures and the systems in place, and then I'd start ordering equipment.
And then you're rocking and rolling once that happens.
Yep.
So
yeah.
No, this has been good. This has been good. If you need to reach Ron, he is at Ron at parkerglasssolutions.com, right? I got that.
Yep, you got it right. Yeah.
So Ron at parkerglasssolutions.com. I'm thrilled to get to talk with you. And I love the fact I didn't know about your past at Frito-Lay. And that just that I already liked you and you're a hero of mine already. Now it's even more. I can't wait to, next time I visit with you, I'm going to be picking your brain about Frito-Lay the entire time.
Well, if you've never had hot Cheetos right off the line, or a hot Frito right off the line, they're great. Worked there for 4 years. I still love that stuff. I don't eat it, but I still love it.
I was gonna say, now you're on the diet, you can't eat that stuff. I mean, it would probably be a shock to the system, but it's great getting to talk with you. Your past is unbelievable. Obviously the health thing blows me away, and I'm so thankful and so happy that you're healthy and with us. And the sky's the limit for what you can do for our industry and people in it. So I appreciate you spending some time with me today.
Well, thank you. I'm really happy to be in the industry, and this again, that diagnosis put me where I am today, which is an opportunity to help a lot of people and to learn a lot more as I do that, and excited to be at that point in my life and that point in the industry. So the sky's the limit. Who knows what opportunity is going to come down the road, but I'm excited to wait and see and help anybody I can.
Love it. Well, you're a good man, my friend. And again, safety, automation, structure, systems. I think you hit all the high points that I think all of us in the fabrication side and manufacturing side need to really pay attention to be better. Better. So thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing you at the next event down the line. And hopefully I get to see your face here at Glassville. You were covered up in the mask. So I get to see the good looking mug there. So thank you so much.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to get you out here. We'll do a little run in the mountains, see how you do in that higher elevation.
I'm all for it. I count on it. We will do that.
Perfect.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Thanks, Max.
All right, before we wrap up, again, thanks to my guests. Really, really thrilled. Thank you, Ron Parker. Thank you, Gantt and Woody Miller. Thank you, Emily Yukish. Very much appreciate you coming on the show and sharing your insights with me. As I've been doing these last few months, it's been kind of like, what am I watching on TV? And this month, I'm pushing the 30 for 30 on ESPN, the documentary about the Mets of 1986, the New York Mets. The team was incredible. I didn't like them very much, so wasn't a fan of that team. But the documentary is incredible. That team is interesting in so many different ways. And looking back to 1986, a very interesting year in baseball. 4 great playoff teams with the California Angels. I'm sure my friend Joe Carlos probably still smarting over that. Boston Red Sox, along with the Houston Astros and New York Mets. Very interesting series. But that documentary, check it out, 30 for 30. It's a 4-episode documentary on the New York Mets. You can find it on ESPN, ESPN Plus, and probably on demand on your cable system. So check that one out. And that'll wrap it up for me this month. Next month, again, loaded with some interesting guests. I appreciate everybody tuning in and supporting. It means a ton. Any ideas that you want or people you want on this podcast, feel free to reach out to me. Thank you again for supporting, and have yourselves a great month. Stay well, everybody.
Oh, the music is stopped.